Welcome to TBL Scope. I'm Kyle Koster. I'm here with Brian Giuffra. We're going to be talking about the Houston Astros sign-stealing scandal as it goes into another week. We're going to be talking about Rob Manfred and how every time he opens his mouth, he seems to make things worse. And we're going to be talking about non-Astros players. Every time they open their mouth, there seems to be a growing anger as we're leading to a season where it seems like the story going into it is going to be how are other teams going to enact justice against the Astros because they felt like there's been a miscarriage of one in the past. What are your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, it was a horrible job by Manfred every step of the way. And I think the worst part about it was his explanation about why players weren't suspended, whether that was more about the MLBPA or not. We really don't know. But the fact is he not only explained in horrible ways why the other players weren't suspended, but also referenced the World Series title as a piece of metal. And he's really incited a lot of players. I mean, when you start having a guy like Mike Trout calling you out, I mean, Mike Trout is a quiet person. He does not go to bat for many things. And for him to call out Manfred and to call out the MLB in whole and just basically saying, you know, how can there be any integrity to the game when there's no punishment for cheating to win a World Series? I mean, that means a lot. To your point about Beanball, I think that's going to happen. An offshore book account, I think, put it at 82 and a half games, which is a little more than half a beanball a game, which would be a lot. So, you know, from my point of view, that's exactly what's going to happen. And it seems like the only way for them to actually get some semblance of revenge, because the World Series title isn't going anywhere and the players are playing the entire season. So what else are the players to do? And I think that's exactly what's going to wind up happening.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is kind of a theory that I've had. Wouldn't the Astros, do you think the Astros would sign up right now if they said, we're going to take this World Series away from you? We're going to strip it. And the record books, you didn't win the World Series. Now, the Astros players are going to always say that they won the World Series. Nothing's going to change that for them. But if that's taken off the books in exchange for no questions asked, it's done, it's over, we move on. Do you think they sign up for that right now? Because this story is going to be going on and on and on. I feel like we still don't grasp how crazy it's going to be on the road for the Houston Astros this year. I mean, think about the players who were implicated in steroids, like Rafael Palmeiro at the time when he was going to hostile ballparks, the way that he was treated. And that was one player. This is going to be the entire team. The opposing fans are going to get up from the first pitch to the last pitch. There's always going to be that sense of, okay, well, the fight might happen right now, and they're really going to be letting people know. And the anger's not going to go away, too, because the hometown team is not going to go out there and say, okay, that's enough, guys. Like, they're going to be right there cheerleading the vitriol coming from the stands because, in a lot of ways, it is warranted. As someone who respects baseball and the integrity of the game, you can't look at this and be like, okay, it's done. So one of the things I've been thinking about is, do you think the Astros would take that trade right now?
I don't think they would, honestly. It doesn't seem like that's the kind of group they are where they'd be willing to accept it. I mean, could you imagine Justin Verlander accepting that? I do not. And to your second point, I agree. I mean, look at already somebody was banging trash cans during spring training. So, I mean, I can only imagine what the over-under on how many trash cans are going to be confiscated. People try to bring in, tins so that they can smash trash cans as the players are batting. I mean, it's going to be horrible for the fans or from the fans. And the players are just going to have to deal with it. And 100%. I mean, we're talking about Mike Trout and Justin Turner and, all the Yankees players who have come out and, questioned the integrity of the game since that happened. They're 100% going to say, yeah, keep it coming. Maybe you might even see a couple of them going like, I can't hear you type of stuff. So I 100% think that the fans are going to be crazy. I think the home team players are going to be encouraging of it. But I still don't think even with that the Astros players would give up that World Series title because in many ways it doesn't seem to me like anybody from that organization is willing to admit that's why they won the World Series. Now, they've apologized for it. They've said, hey, we made a big mistake. But none of them have outright said, like, this is why we won the World Series. And, of course, there's no way for us to know that. Was Altuve getting some sort of tip-off on that hanging slider from oh, my God, why am I forgetting the Yankees closer's name? That's horrible. But the fact is that no matter what, at the end of the day, they're going to have to deal with this for the rest of the year, and all of us will have no idea whether or not they would have won without it.
Well, you're not going to hear them say that cheating is the reason they won because of potential lawsuits. We've already seen that player who got a cup of coffee with the Blue Jays say, look, you guys robbed me in my shot because this is the one chance. And you guys, it was 29 pitches and there was 12 bangs and he got lit up. And it was kind of like when he was out of the major leagues. Like that's the thing. This thing has tentacles and it's spread out and it really affects a lot of the have-nots more than the haves. Going back to Manfred, one of the interesting media angles of all this is that the way that he has been brought in and he's held up as a guy who's like, this guy has interesting ideas. He's willing to take the heat and stand up to criticism to move the game in the direction he wants to move the game. That's a direction that I really disagree with him about doing. He wants to court fans that don't like baseball at the expense of fans who already do like baseball. But I thought that it was really revealing to see in his press conference, which, again, this is from the PR Nightmare Playbook 101, where he kind of belittled Washington or Wall Street Journal reporter Jared Diamond. I'm sorry, I'm just all over the place with names today. There's so many names going on. He said, congratulations on getting the scoop. He obtained a letter that Manfred had sent to the team, and he kind of like did the fake news like against the press playbook, where it's like, well, this is kind of revealing to see that where you champion journalism when you're not at the center of it, you kind of turn against it and try to downplay it. So I thought that was a major misstep. Did you find that off-putting as well?
Oh, of course. Listen, I mean, to belittle a journalist for doing their job, it was really weird, and I didn't understand the point of it. And I do think that it's revealing about the type of person that he is. It seems like when it benefits him, he's okay with it, and when it doesn't, he turns into a 6-year-old who's name calling and belittling the person from a place of power. He's almost like a bully in that respect. Again, only in this one situation. It all seems to be compiling. All of his miscues seem to be compiling in the last 3 weeks. And to your point, the Astros thing isn't going to go away. The postseason adjustments that he proposed aren't going to go away. The fact that the press now is looking at him from a different light and starting to kind of call him out for some of these, hey, I mean, they're radical ideas. Sometimes radical ideas lead to great changes that are great for a sport or great for an individual situation. But the fact of the matter is that, his ideas are radical, and for it to come on the heels of this Astros sign stealing and cheating scandal, and the fact that the Red Sox thing hasn't even been resolved yet, and then the Astros owner is up there. I mean, it's just been a whirlwind of mistakes for him. And the press isn't going to give him any free passes moving forward. It's not, like Silver in the NBA where everybody loves him. And even when there's one mistake, he came out and admitted it. And I think that's been the thing that I've never understood about this from the Astros point of view or the MLB point of view. They keep giving you snippets of what's going to happen, but just get it all out there. Just get it all out there. Let everybody talk, say your points, and then move on. That's what's happened when people have dealt with these types of controversies in the past. Well, that's how you do it. You get it all out there, and then you move on.
Yeah, and I guess let's end on this. I mean, we talk about how this is all bad. There's a lot of bad things going on, but there would be the person who says that this is a net positive for baseball because it gets people excited and interested. I think that obviously the ratings for Astros games are going to be up for whatever that's worth. But in my opinion, this is attention for all the wrong reasons. I don't think that all press is good press. I think you're kind of seeing a sport that's already was kind of like held at the seams with the fabric, kind of like splitting apart with all these factions at a time where the people in the game need to stay together to fight against all these outside influences and forces that are trying to like just push it even further into the shadows. You're seeing even more fracturing there. So I think this is overwhelmingly the wrong reasons for interest in baseball to be up. Though I will say, it is up, and there might be that curiosity factor for a little while, and they might get a bump early in the season. But I think it's far more harm than good.
There does seem to be unity in one place, and it's players against Manfred outside of the Astros organization. I will say that seems pretty universal. But listen, I agree with you. There's definitely be more eyeballs on the game. And quite frankly, that might be a bad thing if it doesn't deliver the way that people are hoping it does, right? Because there is this anticipation of street justice going back to that beginning part of this conversation. And if that doesn't happen, right, then are people just going to automatically tune out and turn off completely from MLB? I mean, you're completely right. This is the type of situation that could either galvanize or can split it apart. And it definitely seems to be splitting apart, specifically from a fan base standpoint. Because again, like we were talking about, it's not just about this scandal. It's about the fact that the Red Sox, there's still not any action with that. There's still the discontent about how the Astros were punished. And then there's this whole underlying thing about, changing the playoff format and doing this made for TV special where they announce it, which is going to be going up against the NFL anyway. So, but that's another conversation. I think at the end of the day, this is not good for baseball, especially when you talk about those people who really care about baseball. They don't want to see this happen. They want to move on from it. But unfortunately, it is the story that never ends.
Yes, and we'll be looking at it as it moves forward. I'm Kyle Koster. That's Brian Giuffra. Thanks for joining us.